I'm Glenn. Welcome to my workshop. What I have here today is a Lortone Tumbler. These tumblers are very popular with rock enthusiasts for tumbling and polishing rock. Also for jewelry makers because you can fill the tumbler with steel or stainless steel shot. Almost all Lortone owners have complained about the fact that at some point in time or another their tumbler squeals or squeaks as it's rotating. This is not too unexpected. The design of the Lortone tumbler itself, basically the fit of the tumbler depends upon this groove slot going into a metal piece. So you're guaranteed that as the thing is rotating, so what you wind up with is a rotating piece of plastic that is kept in place with a stationary piece of metal. And over time, one way or the other, this plastic piece is going to rub on the metal piece and you're likely to get a squeak or a squeal out of it. Some people try greasing this groove. That can get kind of messy. And it's only temporary because it's guaranteed this runs long enough that you're going to have to re-grease it. So I've tried various methods to fix this. I've experienced this enough that I wanted to do something about it. I tried one fairly exotic method of creating a brass bearing point that goes into the center of the screw in this to try and minimize the amount of rotating friction area and hopefully getting away from a squeak that way. That only lasted for a little while. People try various things like putting sticks under one side of the tumbler or the other to try and keep the barrel from sliding back and forth too much and hopefully eliminating the squeak that way. Again, that's only at best a temporary measure. I tried this other method you can see in the picture here where I taped a popsicle stick to the chassis of the tumbler, and that worked pretty well. Even though I still have this aluminum was rubbing against the popsicle stick, the aluminum against the soft wood was not producing any kind of squeak. So it finally occurred to me that a better solution to this would be to create roller bearings for this tumbler to push against rather than counting on the groove in this plastic nut being held in place by the metal part of the chassis of the tumbler. What I'm going to show you today is how I eliminated the Lortone squeal. My solution to the issue of the Lortone squeal was to make a front and rear roller bearing. I designed and printed these fixtures on my 3D printer that will each then hold one of these little ball bearings. These are 10 millimeter outer diameter ball bearings with a 3 millimeter inner hole. Readily available on Amazon. The links are below in the description of the video. Assembly is pretty straightforward. The holes that I designed into these fixtures for the rollers are a little larger on one side and then sized appropriately for the bolt to thread into without having to have a nut on the other side. So let me just with the rollers now put together, the next step is to position them on the tumbler itself and then mark the locations for the holes for the mounting bolts. The rear roller is designed to sit in the middle of the tumbler frame and position towards the edge so that it will ride just inside the outer edge of the drum, right along in here. Once I have it positioned on the frame, I'll mark the position for where I need to drill the holes for the rear roller. And by having the drum tight against that roller, I can position the front roller. Now the front roller is also designed so that it will ride just inside the outer edge of the aluminum lid of the tumbler. The roller has slots in it. Once mounted, you can adjust it front and back to allow for enough play for the drum to rotate freely. The aluminum lid on these drums doesn't go on completely straight all the time, so by having a little bit of adjustment, you still can have play in the drum to move back and forth between the rollers, but not interfere with the metal mount on here. Technically, I could probably just cut this off, but I didn't want to modify the tumbler frame if I didn't have to. Okay, so I've marked everything. I'm going to go drill out the chassis, and then we'll come back for the final assembly. We're back with the chassis drilled out. So now the next step is to go ahead and mount up my front and rear rollers. We have the frame all back together, and we can do the final adjustment of the front roller. I put the drum in, pressed it against the rear roller. Now I can turn it on. I'll tighten up one of these front screws a little bit, just enough to give some little... All right, that's good. Looks like that works because there's plenty of clearance here. There's no chance that this is going to press into the chassis. So let's go ahead and tighten down the front roller. All right, and there you have it. The drum can only move that far forward before it presses against the roller, and then against the back roller. And now we've replaced non-moving parts and the interference of the plastic on this metal support. We've moved to these rollers now to keep the drum centered. And that is how I eliminated the Lortone squeal. I hope you found the information in this video today useful to you. I'm sure there are many ways of solving the squeak or the squeal that's generated by these Lortone tumblers. This was just my way of doing it by using a couple of roller bearings. The links to the bearings that I bought from Amazon is below. There's also a link to the file to print this front and rear bracket, which you're welcome to download and use. Thank you for watching.